Hari Bol, Hari Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giridhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giridhari Yasoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanuchari Muna Tira Vanuchari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasade Gaura Bhaktivedanta Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasade Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya go, Haribo, Nichai go now. Chai go, Haribo, 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 Nichai go, Haribo, Nichai go, Haribo. Haribo, Nichai go, Haribo. Go, Premanandi. Hare Krishna. We're just going to have a class. You're very welcome to sit that side if you want. We're just having a class. Hare Krishna. Listen. Just reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We're reading from the 9th chapter, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. We're on text 13. It's okay with the lights. Yeah, lovely. That's great. Thank you. We'll do the invocation mantra in call and response. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, chapter 9, text 13. We'll do the Romanized Sanskrit. Mahatmas tu mam partha. Yeah, chapter 9, text 13. 13. 13. Mahatmas tu mam partha devam prakritim ashrita bhajante anyas manaso jantva bhutadim avyayam. We'll do we'll call and response. If you want to respond, I'll do line by line. Yes, it's chapter 9, text 13. 13. 1 phrase, okay, yeah. No problem. But you don't have to say it straight away. What I'll do, I'll call a line and see if you can respond. Mahatmas tu mam partha Devim prakritim ashrita Bhajante anasya manaso Jantva bhutadim avyayam. Mahatmas tu mam partha Devim prakritim ashrita Bhajante anasya manaso Jantva bhutadim avyayam. Does anyone want to recite the Sanskrit? Don't worry if you... Okay. I'm going to do the word for word translation. So we'll do call and response. Mahatmana, the great souls, to, but, mam, unto me, partha, O son of Prita, Devim, divine, Prakritim, nature, Ashrita, having taken shelter of, Bhajante, render service, Ananya Manasya, without deviation of the mind, Jnatva, knowing, Bhuta, of creation, Admin, the origin, Avyayam, inexhaustible. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. O son of Prita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. We'll do line by line, call and response. O son of Prito, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay. In this verse, the description of the Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this effected? That is explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Devi Prakriti, divine nature. So when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of great soul. Mahatma. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna, because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality, the Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or great soul develops through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. I'll read that again. Or great soul develops through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as his four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned with any form of the demigods or of a human being. They meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unwavering service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. Om Magina Taramanda Janandana Samaikaya Chakshu Umelitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manam Vishtam Stapatam Yena Bhutale Swayan Rupa Karamaham Mananti Swabadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shavasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Shrimati Shiva Ram Swami Chinamane. So, reading from this Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter. O son of Prithu, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So, just reading a little bit earlier, the Bhagavad Gita. It was pretty amazing. The introduction, if you ever get, most of us here probably read the Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. And the introduction is, I forgot how many pages it is, but it's quite a long introduction. And it's very philosophical, very interesting. And in that introduction, Srila Prabhupada explains about the subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, the 5 main subject matters. The first is the Ishwara, the Supreme Person. And then we have Jiva, the spirit soul, the living entity. And then there's Prakriti, nature, Krishna's material nature. And then there's Kala, time. And at the end there's karma. And out of these 5, 4 of them are eternal. Obviously, Ishwara, the Supreme Person, Krishna, he's eternal. The Jiva, the spirit soul, ourselves, we're also eternal. And Prakriti, material nature, it's temporary, but when it breaks down, it goes back to the spiritual energy. It actually belongs to Krishna. That's his material energy. And Kala, time is just relative to our situation, but actually time is eternal. Time is a force that's put in the material world to check the living entity. And then you've got karma. Karma is the action, the activities. We have free will. So when time meets us, we perform certain activities. And if we do them for ourselves in a selfish mentality, we become bound. They become fruitive activities. They bind us to the material world. And we become, obviously, the architects of our destiny. For many lifetimes, we become bound through selfish desires. But if one uses human form of life for what it's really meant for self-realization, for God consciousness, for questioning, for searching out, then one uses human body for a vehicle to get back home to where we belong. And so Prabhupada explains in the introduction, there's many different Bhagavad Gitas, there's thousands of different Bhagavad Gitas written by many different, speculative philosophers and so-called religionists. But the Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada is not done with any mundane motive. It's a selfless motive. And Srila Prabhupada is giving us this Bhagavad Gita through the order of his spiritual master. He's passing this down through the parampara, through the disciplic succession, so it's kept intact and pure. Because this knowledge, as explains in chapter 4, text 2, that in time, because this knowledge originally is passed down from spoken by Lord Vishnu, to the sun god. Sun god's spoken it to Manu. Manu passes it down to Ishwaku. And in time, over the generations, sometimes it appears to be lost. So we're very fortunate, actually, in this age, the age of Kali. We're in the dark age, as they explained in the Yuga cycles. We're in the Iron Age, the age of hypocrisy and quarrel, where spirituality and culture and spiritual knowledge is very on the decline very fast. So Srila Prabhupada's passing on this knowledge from his Guru Maharaj, and he came to the Western countries, under the instruction of his Guru, and very merciful, selflessly surrendered, and brought over the books, his literature translated from the original Vedas, and Srila Prabhupada's given us the purports. In his purports, he's given us, great knowledge for us to understand, because in Kali Yuga, we don't have real spiritual knowledge. We're very not so intelligent, as it's explained. So basically, there's these 5 main subject matters, and the first step that Srila Prabhupada explains, actually, the first basics, as we always go back to, and it's like in any sort of system of knowledge, even in, you can't beat going back to basics, because we are pretty basic sometimes. And the basics is understanding we're not the body, we're actually the spirit soul. And that's quite a high knowledge in a way, because it's easy to say, but to actually understand it is not so easy. There's a process. But Prabhupada makes it simple. We're actually, these bodies are actually always changing, and they're very temporary. And the driver of the body is the spirit. And we've been through millions of bodies in this material world, millions. Different species, 8,400,000 different species of life. And the human form is the best for self-realization. And that self-realization is for anyone to question, for anyone to become thoughtful and use their intelligence, because an intelligent person will question. And that main question is a Tata Brahma Jigyasa. Who am I? What's this place? Where am I going to next? What's the goal of life? Because you can have many things in this world, many material attributes, so much good karma, bad karma, all the same ultimately, because sometimes when you have too much good karma from previous lives, if you don't use it the right way, it will bind you more to the material world. So we should use everything in service to Krishna, then it becomes purified, because ultimately everything, as it's explaining in this purport, Krishna is the maintainer. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord ultimately. Everything is under God's control. So in this purport, this gives the first sign of Mahatma. This is already situated in his divine nature. He's not under the control. So he talks about the 7th chapter, the 7:14 verse, that if one actually wants to come closer to the Lord sincerely within their heart, they should surrender. There's some surrender involved. It's not. You can't buy your way in. You can't pretend. Krishna knows the heart, because he's in the heart of all living entities. God is situated within our hearts, and he knows our faults and our motives. So if one surrenders to his best capability, Krishna helps him cross over the material ocean of suffering, to understand. And to understand, actually, we are all spirit souls in the material world. And we're only here for a short time. And it's all being taken away gradually. It's like a train, isn't it? You get a train going down the track, and it stops at the platform. You get on, human body junction, you get on. And you're sat in the carriage, and in that carriage you meet your family members. You're just traveling a little way together. And eventually the train, comes to its certain stops, and certain people get off at different stops. And, everything in this world, ultimately, it's got to go. And I suppose it's sort of sad in some ways when you look at that, but also it's a good wake-up call, because if one with intelligence, Jai Shri Radha Gokulananda Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ji Gaurani Tai Ki Jai. But for one with intelligence, it's good, because it helps us inquire. It makes one think, one day or at some point, I can't take it with me. I can't take all this with me. It doesn't belong to me. The only thing that really belongs to us in this world is actually our free will. And that free will is given to us by Krishna, because actually even this body belongs to Krishna. And, as not to say of the spirit soul, our identity, we're part and parcel. We're like a little spark from the big fire. And Krishna gives us free will to use this human form of life to get back home, and to use it in its best way. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Navedinam. Chanting, it starts through chanting the holy name. And in the age of Kali, the age of quarrel, in this age, the Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan, is to chant God's names. Krishna's made it very simple for us. In many other yugas, there's four different yugas. The Satya Yuga, they live for at least 100,000 years. They're in pure meditation. Everything's very pure. Then there's a gradual decline in religious principles. So they go into Treta Yuga, and it's all sacrifices. And then it's declining more to about 75%. Then there's 50%. As it enters Dwapara Yuga is more deity worship, worshiping the Lord in His eternal form. Great yajnas of great offerings of artis and temple worship. But in Kali Yuga, because there's only like a little bit left of religious principles, Krishna's made it real simple for us. Not only does He give us the instruction, but He came, the Lord, at different times. Yadu yadu he dharma shya glinir bhavati bharata. That's His mission statement. When there's a rise of irreligion and a degradation of religious principle, at that time I descend, I come to rescue the pious, re-establish principles of religion and annihilate the miscreants. So when the devotee calls upon the Lord 500 years ago, Krishna's mercy, he comes in the form of a devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya has given that real simple for us. In the age of Kali Yuga is Harinam Sankirtan, Harinam. Chant the holy name, chant. Harinam, Harinam, Eva Kivalam, Kalovya, Nastiva, 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 Gata Evya, Anyata. There's no other way in this dark age of Kali Yuga. Just chant the holy name. Because we're in quite, not an easy situation being born in the material world, in a human body. Even though it's a great fortune, it's a great chance to come back to Godhead, it's still a very difficult situation. So, dukkhalayam shashratam, the material world's, there's some happiness, but there's mostly, I don't want to be depressing, but there's a lot of distress, more distress than happiness ultimately. When you're young, it's all good, and we may lack wisdom when we're younger, but life's great. And before you know it, it's like the traffic lights. You stop at the traffic lights. You see the green light, and then when the green light, you're going through, and then the green light, it gradually goes to amber. And when that amber comes there, the amber goes to red. It's fast. It means sometimes, life goes past fast. And one minute we're young, and then the next minute we are a bit older, and then we're looking back and we're wondering where it all went. But we've ultimately, when one chants the holy name of Krishna, and under that instruction for the age of chanting through Lord Chaitanya's direction, through Krishna's direction, one doesn't lose. There's no loss or diminution. There's no loss. And for the rising and setting of the sun, for the devotee, it's a timeless process. But for one who's not in devotional service, the setting of the sun and the rising is each day is being taken away very quick. And for the devotee, he sees Krishna. When death comes, he wants to be chanting. It was preparation for death. Sorry, I'm talking about death. It's quite a daunting subject, but it's like the final lesson, and it's very important. I see it as that. And then for one who's not in devotional service, when time ends, time comes as death. And so through chanting the holy name, it makes us timeless. It's a timeless process, but we need to hear. Chanting, the best time for chanting is early in the morning, if you can do it. If you can chant Hare Krishna, the Hare Krishna mantra is the best time is early in the morning. And if you can't do it early in the morning, do it when you can. Try and chant every day, and hear from Srila Prabhupada or some of his disciples lectures on Bhagavad Gita, Krishna consciousness. Hearing is very important. Shrabda Brahman is transcendental sound. It cleanses the heart, because we can't really, we can't get rid of all these burdens and these shackles in this material world, like lust, kama, krodha, lobhya, maja, all lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, these subtle elements that are covering our soul, they're trapping us and blocking us to actually get back home, back to Godhead. Those can't be taken away through, like I say, even just through charity, or charity is a great thing. It's a very important, actually, some charity. But I'm saying through yoga, through Ashtanga yoga, through austerities, through standing on your head, and not eating and fasting. But when you chant Krishna's name, you should chant with attention and try and hear. It's actually quite difficult to hear. Prabhupada, a lot of devotees said, how should I chant to Prabhupada? What's the process? I'm chanting. One devotee said, I'm chanting. I'm seeing all these colours, man. It's brilliant. I'm seeing this blue and this pink and this woo. Prabhupada said, keep chanting. It'll go away soon. Because it's not that amazing, actually. It's just... So Prabhupada, he said, what you need to do when you chant is just try to hear the holy name. Now, I've been chanting quite a few years, and sometimes it is difficult to hear, but the best times for hearing, when you are chanting, is to chant in association with devotees early in the morning. And so this process, it cleanses the heart of all the dust, and it takes away that envy and the madness, the illusion and the lust. We engage it in Krishna's service. And anything we want to do, if we're good at doing things, or certain things we're good at, and making things, or we might be a good artist, or a good at physical stuff in some way, or dancer, we dance for Krishna, and dance in kirtan, we're a good cook, we cook for Krishna. Anything we cook should always be offered to Krishna. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yomi bhakti priyajate. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, water, or fruit, I will accept. If one sincerely does the offering to Krishna, when you cook, we should be thinking, we should try to follow the process. In that chapter 9, text 26, Krishna explains what he accepts as an offering. He doesn't accept fish, meat, or eggs, onions, garlic, or mushrooms. And if we can try and work towards that, and through chanting, but first chanting, spiritual life, as Srila Prabhupada said, it's not about rules and regulations. There are rules at a certain point, but first of all, find a taste through chanting Hare Krishna. You through calling upon the Lord. If you call sincerely, if you take one step, He'll take 10. So then He can help us and direct us in our journey. It could be a long journey, but Prabhupada says you can get it in a second. You can have Krishna consciousness in a moment, but sometimes it may take many lifetimes. Some people it takes millions of lifetimes. But through association, sadhu sangha, association and chanting, offering your food, honouring prasadam, residing in a holy place, coming to the temple, worshipping the deity, seeing the form of the Lord. We think we see Krishna sometimes. It's beautiful to see Him, but He's seeing us. He's seeing us standing there, and He sees we come in, and you get the transcendental X-ray beam, when you stand in front of the Lord. You get the cleanse of the heart. But Prabhupada's spiritual master said, don't try to see Krishna, but work in a way of service. Surrender to Krishna in a way that He will see you. So it's a sacrifice. Human form of life does mean sacrifice. Yogya Sankirtan prayer. There's through chanting and hearing, and then there's service. We're calling for service. When we chant the holy name, we're also calling upon the Lord to serve. So there's many different types of service, and anything we can do. Like I say, if you have a job or something, and you do that for Krishna, try and make it as an offering for Krishna. Keep your honesty and your morals and your virtues and your culture together if you can, and work what you can, and just maybe sometimes tithe or give a donation to the Lord, give something. Because like we say, before, it's everything actually belongs to Krishna. It's not that, and when we give it to Krishna, He sees our sincerity. If we are sincerely giving, we should try to do what we can. The Lord knows the heart. And I say to myself, preaching to myself, in the end, we've got to give it all back, because, Ishwarashamidam sarvam yakinchat jagatam jagat tina traktina punjatam agriha kishiswidanam. Everything animate and inanimate in this material world is controlled and owned by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one should not take more than what belongs to him, and understand that actually he should just use his quota. So Krishna sees our devotion. This is why it's called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti is very important. This is not Astanga Yoga or Hatha Yoga. This is the topmost yoga system. But it's not that we're the topmost yogis, because in the topmost yoga system, it's also at the bottom. It's accessible at the bottom. Anyone can enter Bhakti Yoga, because it's a change of heart. Not just a sentimental change of heart. It's a sincere, of course, we know our capabilities, but it's a sincere prayer and surrender. And when you chant the holy name with love, then Krishna gives you the strength and knowledge. Tesam sata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yinamam apiyante te. In chapter 10, Krishna explains that, for those who are devoted to me with love, and approach me with devotion, I'll give them the intelligence by which to come to me. So there's no loss. I could stop here for a little bit. Has anyone got any questions so far? Anyone have any inquiries or anything yet? We've got another sort of 10 minutes, so Hare Krishna.
When somebody maybe is doing a service, but this service make you in contact with some other person. And there is a moment that you feel that there is not any more protection. Okay, your energy is like a little bit engaging.
Right. So you're asking. Yeah.
What you can do to not be cold, but to protect yourself. That's okay.
So you're asking, in your service, is to actually, when you're working close with someone, and not to overstep the mark or become too familiar, or if it's difficult sometimes, not to make offense, or to protect yourself, protect them.
How to not be cold?
How to not be cold.
To protect yourself.
How to not be cold and protect yourself. So if you're doing a daily service and you are working with a certain person, if someone is, and you may not get on so well, I don't know, you may be very different, maybe, and not to be offensive. Yeah, I mean, familiarity, it can be difficult sometimes, or if we don't quite gel with a person, but we keep the service in the center, try and keep the service as the, and try and get along in the service. If your good morning program, if one has a good morning program, good chanting, and try to, relish their service, what they're doing, and push on and help each other through. Maybe serve each other a little bit. Sometimes it's good to help that person in the service a little bit, serve them a bit, or help them with what they're doing, and then get on with what you're doing to show that you care, and also you're doing it for Krishna. I mean, there's a certain point where you have to protect yourself, of course. But you reminded me of a situation I had many years ago, and we used to do book distribution. I don't do it so much these days, but I've done it for quite a few years. And I was in a different part of England stationed at another temple, which was a really nice place too. And me and one devotee, we didn't get on very well at all. We didn't get on. And we used to sometimes lock horns, as they say, with the bulls. And we got sent away together to do Sankirtan in a motorhome. It was just me and this devotee. And when we were out there together, we realized we only had each other. We was much younger back then. And he cooked for me and I cooked for him, and we went out on the street and we only had each other. So we had to get to like each other. And we actually got quite a good friendship out of that, a good understanding. It was a working relationship, service. And you can make friends through service more, even if you don't really gel sometimes. And if you can't get on, you just get on with your service and just try and be pleasant for Krishna. Try and see Krishna in the center, because Krishna's testing us at every moment, ultimately, and he's checking our reactions and turning up the heat sometimes, putting us in difficulties due to our, if we're trying to surrender, he'll use situations to see how we cope with certain things. So we should try to remember Krishna if we can, and and try not to offend the other person, and just get on with our service and try and relish our service, and sometimes serve them, help them a little bit, and then get on with what you're doing. Sorry, I don't know if I helped with that very much. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Yeah, so service is very. Service is our meeting point, actually, in Krishna consciousness. When you really break it down, we're not here to just. It's good to have. Of course, we need classes. We need to. Discuss the scriptures and study and ultimately chant and purify. But then in the day, because we're so conditioned in the mode of passion, the human form of life, we need to engage in service. We need some good physical engagement, especially on the Western side. Prabhupada said, can you chant for 24 hours a day? You're going to sit in a temple room and chant all day? No, you ain't got the Adi card, the qualification. So this is why we chant for 2 hours, and then we go and do practical service, practical engagement. And in that service is the center point that actually brings us in our common ground. This is why we're all sat here together as the United Nations. The real United Nations, as Prabhupada says, is actually, different countries. We're all from, different places, but we're all on the same hymn sheet, as they say. We're trying to serve Krishna. And in the center of that is chanting the holy name. And that service is very, very valuable. Devotional service is very valuable. So try to value our service. We don't want to lose our service. I think that's what Lord Chaitanya and Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, and he said, what's the worst thing that could ever happen for you? What's your worst fear? I think it was, who was it? Who was it? One of the Goswamis, wasn't it? He said, what's your worst thing that could ever, what's the worst thing you could ever imagine in your life, your worst situation? He said, being out of association of devotees. He said, being away from the association. And so, our association and our service is very valuable. Try to value it while we can. We could be in a lot worse situations. We're very fortunate, really. And on that subject, has anyone else got any questions? Hare Krishna. Yep.
Therefore, I'm not protected by the divine nature. But my understanding was that if you are weaker, then you need protection.
So you're saying,
Red soul,
yeah.
You're already liberated. How do we understand?
So you're saying, it explains in the translation that the great souls are protected by the divine nature, and you're feeling yourself as not a great soul, and you're practicing. So how are you protected?
Yeah, exactly. That's my question. If I'm not a great soul and I'm obviously deluded most of the time.
That's a nice question, because it's like we wouldn't want to think ourselves as Mahatmas, of course, but Prabhupada explains, actually, as you may know, you probably know the answers anyway, but when you're on the path of bhakti, if you are really, the more you put in, the more you surrender, ye yatamam prapanyati tamsta devam bhajami ham, the more, as you approach me, Krishna says, if you surrender to me, I'll reward you accordingly. So even though we are all coming from, speak for myself, coming from the sewers or wherever, anyway, but Kali Yuga kids, growing up in this, but Prabhupada's merciful, he's helped us come, giving us this knowledge, and the devotees meet the devotees, and then when you come in and you try to surrender and you're trying to do what you can, Krishna sees the heart, right? So actually we are under great protection. We are under the greatest protection, and Prabhupada explained that, what's the alloyed and unalloyed devotee, because someone was looking at the metalworks, and he said, unalloyed, we want to become unalloyed devotee. No tinge of, analabhyasita sanyam gana karma and avritam, no tinge of material motives and stuff. But he said, because your endeavor is sincere, because you're trying to, to surrender and do what you can with what you have, and you're going in that direction, you are also, that's a pure devotional service. That's also counted as can be counted as pure devotional service, and you do get that protection, especially when you go out on the street and do Sankirtan. That's super protection, and Krishna really steps into your life. Sorry, go on.
Can you kind of describe practically what is that protection? Because for example, you're saying if you're on the street and you're distributing books, you are under that protection, isn't it?
For sure.
Maybe that we have devotees around us, just say we don't go on books ourselves by ourselves, but we are still exposed to so much Maya.
Yes.
In that moment, we may not feel protected. We may feel very vulnerable. Actually.
That's a good, so you may not feel you may feel vulnerable because you don't feel totally protected, because we may not be doing such a high surrender, but we are ultimately, we do, sometimes the material energy does throw a few at us. We get shaken up, don't we? We can get a few shake-ups, and that's good sometimes, because then we delve towards Krishna deeper, and then he protects us. So we do slip and slide. It's one step forward, 5 steps back sometimes. That's the nature of the conditioned soul. Especially in my case, 1 step forward, 10 steps back, or whatever, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But you keep going, that's our, Prabhupada says just keep going, stay in association, no matter how bad it gets through the winter and the summer. The practical is association, that's your protection. Stay in good association. That's the real protection of a devotee, is his association. And that means he needs to follow to a certain, sorry, I'm not very philosophical, so I'm just sort of throwing a few, I'm just sort of speaking from my experience more on that, and I do know that being away from the association of devotees, it's a dark, lonely world, and you need to be around. And as I get older, sometimes it's difficult to be in crowds. I don't know if I think it's probably my own mindset, but then if you're away too long, you want to be close. It's always, we're Tatastha Shakti, aren't we? We're caught in between. But we, wherever there's association of devotees, it's the greatest fortune. We should always seek that and try and strive towards it, and throughout our whole life. Yeah, sorry, last, go on.
Thank you, because you reminded me that the best example was the example of Draupadi.
Oh, Draupadi, yeah.
Yeah, when she was seeking for protection from everywhere else, she couldn't find it.
She couldn't get anything.
Only when she fully surrendered did she get that protection from Krishna.
Yeah. So Draupadi. Yeah.
I think that one of the angas of Sharanagati to surrender
Atmanavedam.
is to be completely convinced and have faith that Krishna will protect us.
Yeah.
So in a sense, we must surrender before Krishna. If we somehow take shelter at 50% Krishna and 50% something else, then Krishna cannot fully protect us.
That's right, for sure.
He would, like, if you want to.
He's not silly, is he? Yeah.
Yeah. That's if you want
full surrender.
And if you don't have full surrender, you cannot have, because you said it's Krishna reciprocal.
Yeah, you have to man papanyante, yes.
Our level of protection depends on
Like Queen Kunti, she said, please, put me in the most difficult situations, because when things are going good for me, I don't depend on Krishna enough. But when things are really falling apart, then I can sincerely turn to you. And that's a scary situation. Do we really want to pray for that? It's the best thing to pray for, ultimately. But are we ready? But still, step by step. That's the great fortune we can. So the evening arati is going to start in a minute, so we can close the class there. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Guru Premanandi, Hari Bol, Hari Krishna. Thank you, Hari Krishna. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll try. Good evening, Hare Krishna devotees. Now we'll do the Harati. If you can please stand up and join us, please. श्री श्री राधा गोकुल नंद की, सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान की, प्रभुपाद की. Please join the आरती. कि बजयो जया गौरा चांदे आरती का शोभा. जय गौरा चांदे आरती का शोभा. जाह्नवी ताटा बने जगा मन लोभा. जाह्नवी ताटा बने जगा मन आई चांदेन बामे गदधारा नकीनिताय चांद बामे गदधारा. निकाटे अद्वैता श्रीनी वसा छत्रधारा. काटे अद्वैता श्रीनी वसा छत्रधारा. शिव बोसी अचे गोरचान रत्न सिंहासने. बोसी अचे गोरचान रत्न सिंहासने. आरती गौरेण ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गाने. आरती गौरे नरा हरे chamara dulaya sanjaya mukunda basu tochadigaya jaya mukunda basu tochadigaya शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे 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 शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे आदर आदर मादर बाजे कर्मा बाजे परम रसाला बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे का बाजे शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 भाजे माधुर 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 भाजे गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल शिव बहु कोटि चंद्र जीने वदन उज्ज्वला कोटि चंद्र जीने लाल देश बाना माला कोरे जलमाला शिवा सुका नारदा प्रेमी गदगादा सुका नारदा प्रेमी गदगादा भाकति विनोदा देखे गौरार संपादा जया गौर चांदे आरती का शोभा जया गौर चांदे आरती का शोभा विताटा वाले जग मन लोभा गौरांगेरा राधिका शोभा जगत जनमान लोभा शोभा जगज्जनमाता